Hi everyone, this is Selvi. Today's interview question is how to define DOR and DoD for a new team. So we all know we have discussed in many of our episodes about definition of ready and definition of done, but today we are going to talk about how we are going to define it for a new team. This is actually a practical scenario for many of us also, that situations arise that you will be entering into a new team, very new team with new set of people, new product, everything. How are we going to set the DOR and DoD? And if in cases the team is established already and you are entering and there was no much process followed and you want to grow, slowly improvise those process, how we can do it? Both scenarios we will discuss. First thing is DOR and DoD are checklist. So it actually depends on the particular team. We cannot exchange our definition of ready and definition of done across teams because the checklist is completely dependent on the maturity of the team, the nature of the product, and the development practices what we follow. Now let's try to understand in detail. If the team is very new, few people are new to Agile, a few people have already experienced with Agile. It's a combination, but it's a new team and the product is also new. Now it is always good to go in much more details because we always get into a situation, okay, these all things I need to start my work, these are the things required to understand better. So many expectations will be there. Capture all those even minute details into your definition of ready, so that when all those things are available you can claim that okay, I am ready to pick up this work item. So for new teams, it is very important you should have a very much detailed list. So how to prepare this? This meeting should be facilitated by the Scrum Master, and every team member should participate in this meeting and they should raise the details. Like, I need certain details. I am feeling these details should be required. I think that these clarity should be available well in advance so that we will be able to smoothly pick up the work. So collect all those details, refine it, as a team come to a conclusion, okay, this is the master list that we expect we should have so that we can claim that the work item is really ready for sprint execution. This is how we will make it. Now every sprint retrospective meeting, the importance you need to give is you need to keep pulling this master checklist and show it to the team so that they can add or they can remove certain things. They feel like this is something like an overhead, we no need to have this because this is covered in other items, or this is something like we are already aware of and we no need to explicitly mention it. So this kind of information also slowly, gradual level we will be keep updating. So it is very important, every sprint retrospective meeting you should inspect this. So now this is for a new team, and slowly how we will improvise it also we discussed. Now when the team is actually in a very well state of Agile, mature team with Agile, they may not go into so much details because they feel like okay, these level of details no need to be written because we all are aware of the product, we all are kind of like established. Now we are trying to refine it. So those kind of maintenance projects where team is already aware of the situations and they are just going to continue in that project, don't need to mention everything in detail. So it completely depends on the team. As a scrum master, you can guide, you can facilitate the meeting, you can get the maximum from your team members, what are they expecting, because they are going to work. So they need to say that these all are the things I need so that I can work comfortably. That should come from them and not from scrum master or product owner. So these things are very important. So even for definition of ready and even for definition of done, this is the same criteria. We as a team, we need to understand. Especially for definition of done, I just want to add one more point before closing this episode. Development practices and the quality practices what we are following. For some projects, certain things are not required. Like for example, if you are using any kind of open source technologies, certain scans, certain security checks, certain vulnerability scans you need to mandatorily perform. So why can't you integrate that as part of every code merge? Why can't you introduce that as part of every pull request? Why can't you introduce that as part of every review mechanism? That is very important. Whereas in certain situations you don't have open source technologies itself, then you no need to have that kind of things established at all. So it is very important, development practices, quality measures, whatever we are taking, whether it is really applicable or not, that is very important to see. So this is why I mentioned everything matters from team to team. You cannot generalize this list at all. Okay, as a scrum master, I am sharing my definition of ready and definition of done, my team's checklist to some other scrum master so that they can use. It will not work at all. It should come from the own team members, what they need to start the work, and what are they feeling that to ensure that this is the closure of the work that we call in alignment with the product owner. So this is what we need to establish. So in a nutshell, definition of ready and definition of done, it is purely an ownership by the team. Only the facilitation and the guidance can be given by the scrum master. This list keep on this list needs to undergo the revision every time whenever we are doing the retrospective meeting, so that as a team we will be able to continuously improve. We can add, we can remove, we may not take any action, but make that as a practice. What is required to be added, what is required to be removed. And the next thing is like, it again depends on the particular team's maturity and the product's maturity, and what are the tools and technologies that we are using. Based on the development practices and quality practices, based on all these things only, we can prepare this definition of ready and definition of done checklist. So this is very important point to add. So please do not exchange the checklist anytime. It should come from the team members. So we as a team are proposing these points to be added in definition of ready and definition of done, and we are going to align on this in the execution. That's what we are trying to achieve out of these two checklists, which are helping us both in our sprint execution as well as the closure. I think this episode would have been helpful for many of you in understanding definition of ready and definition of done, how to create it for new teams. Thanks everyone for listening. Happy learning and stay tuned.